Yo Gotti's brother is dead, shot down outside a Memphis restaurant on January 13, 2024 at 4:15 in the afternoon in broad daylight at a repast, at a funeral gathering. And the man allegedly behind that trigger, he reacted to a bounty. A bounty that Yo Gotti's own family put out. A bounty that set off a chain of blood that ain't finished spilling yet. Let me be crystal clear about what's happening here, fam. Big Jook Anthony Mims, Yo Gotti's brother, the man running street operations for CMG behind the scenes, allegedly put a $100,000 hit on Young Dolph. That hit got carried out on November 17, 2021, inside Makita's Butter Cookies in Memphis. Dolph was buying cookies. He was in there doing a Thanksgiving turkey drive for the community gang. And two men walked in and aired him out in cold blood. Now fast forward to 2024. Big Jook himself gets murked, and the streets are saying, and the timeline is saying, that whoever pulled that trigger on Jook did it as get back. Straight retaliation for Dolph. And now, the man allegedly connected to Big Jook's murder is reacting to word that Yo Gotti put a bounty on him. You hearing me? This is a full circle of blood. Gotti's brother puts a bag on Dolph. Dolph gets killed. Somebody allegedly puts a bag on Jook as get back. Jook gets killed. And now Gotti allegedly puts a bag on whoever did Jook. This is Memphis in real time. This ain't no rap beef. This is war. And y'all need to hear every single detail of how we got here, because this story is deeper than anything they've been reporting on these blogs. Stay with me. To understand all of this, gang, we gotta go back, way back, because Big Jook wasn't just Yo Gotti's brother. That's the surface level. Anthony Big Jook Mims was 47 years old when he died. He was the elder statesman behind Collective Music Group, the label Yo Gotti built from the ground up. While Gotti was the face, Jook was the muscle. He was at every CMG event, every concert, every video shoot. He was the man who moved in the shadows and kept things tight. And in Memphis, keeping things tight means one thing. You have influence on the streets. Big Jook wasn't just a hype man, he was a decision maker. And when decisions get made in Memphis at that level, the consequences are permanent. Now here's the thing about Yo Gotti's empire. CMG wasn't just a record label, it was a lifestyle, a brand, a flag you planted in Memphis dirt and dared somebody to step on it. And for years, one man kept stepping on that flag over and over again, publicly, boldly, without apology. That man was Young Dolph. 2024, that's where it starts. Yo Gotti wanted to sign Young Dolph to CMG. Dolph was hot, he had the streets, he had the buzz, and Gotti could see it. He made him an offer. And Dolph, no cap, turned it down flat. See, Dolph wasn't built like that. He was a self-made man from jump. His whole identity was built on independence. He went on Sway in the Morning in August of 2014 and said it publicly. He chose to invest in himself rather than sign to anybody. And in the same breath, he made it clear Gotti had feelings about it. Now, Gotti never officially confirmed he was pressed, but the streets told a different story, and Dolph wasn't about to let it go quietly. By February 2016, the first shots got fired, verbally. Dolph went on Twitter and said, quote, "Bra went from being my #1 fan and wanting to sign me to being my biggest hater." That tweet went viral in Memphis, and then, within days, Dolph dropped his debut album and called it King of Memphis. That's the name Yo Gotti used for himself. Dolph looked Gotti dead in the eyes through the culture and said, "You ain't the king? I am." That was a declaration of war, gang, in Memphis. You don't play with titles like that. And Gotti, he stayed quiet. He stayed quiet and let his CMG Soldier Black youngster handle it. In March of 2016, youngster went on Instagram threatening to pull up on Dolph in his own neighborhood. Showed up in South Memphis on video. Dolph responded with a laughing emoji and a thumbs down. He wasn't scared, not even a little. But then Dolph went too far, or at least too far for where the peace was at. February 2017, Dolph dropped Play With Yo Bitch. He named Gotti direct, called him Ho Gotti, made a whole music video with a Gotti lookalike. And the very next day after that video dropped, Dolph's bulletproof SUV was lit up with over 100 shots in Charlotte, North Carolina. Over 100 shots. The van that was used in that shooting traced back to Black Youngster, who had rented it. Youngster surrendered to police, but nothing stuck. Nobody went to prison behind that. And then, 7 months later, in September 2017, Young Dolph got shot outside the Loews Hollywood Hotel in Los Angeles. Multiple gunshot wounds. He survived, but barely. Police arrested a Gotti associate named Corey McClendon near the scene. He was released without charges 2 days later. Yo Gotti was briefly looked at. He denied everything. And the case went cold. Dolph survived, kept rapping, kept winning independently. His albums charted. His paper route empire was thriving. He was unbothered, but the beef never died. It just went underground. Here's where it gets wild, fam. Between 2018 and 2021, things got quiet on the surface. No more diss tracks, no more public beefs. Dolph had his lane, Gotti had his. Memphis was big enough for both, or at least that's what it looked like from the outside. But underground, the tension was still there. And court documents would later reveal that Big Jook never forgave Dolph for those diss tracks. Prosecutors laid it out clearly. Dolph's music had targeted Big Jook personally, targeted CMG, called out the label by name, and in Jook's world, that was not something you let ride. Here's what prosecutors told the jury. CMG, Yo Gotti's label, had wanted Young Dolph to work for them. He had turned them down, and then he had the audacity to build his own competing empire, Paper Route Empire, and put on a whole roster of artists who were starting to eat. Key Glock was popping. The whole PRE team was moving. In Memphis, that's a problem. That's money leaving the table. And to somebody like Big Jook, who allegedly placed smaller bounties not just on Dolph, but on multiple PRE members, including Key Glock for $50,000, Paper Route Wu for $50,000, and others, this wasn't just personal. It was business. But here's the real tea on what set the final countdown off. By 2021, Dolph was at the height of his power, independent, wealthy, beloved in Memphis. The people loved him. He was giving back to the community. His 2020 album, Rich Slave, had peaked at number 4 on the Billboard 200. He was untouchable, or so it seemed. And then Thanksgiving week hit. Y'all need to hear this like you're watching it happen in slow motion, because this was planned, this was calculated, this was not random. According to testimony in court, the shooters, Cornelius Smith and Justin Johnson, knew Dolph was going to be in Memphis for Thanksgiving week. He had a turkey giveaway going on for the community. Cornelius Smith testified directly. "We knew he had a turkey drive all week. We just ain't know when we was gonna get him." Read that back. They were watching. They were waiting. This was a hunt. On November 17th, 2021, Adolph Robert Thornton Jr., Young Dolph, walked into Makita's Butter Cookies on Airways Boulevard in South Memphis. He was there picking up cookies. Just a man from Memphis buying cookies in his hometown. Cornelius Smith testified that he saw Dolph standing by the window. He jumped out and he started shooting with a semi-automatic weapon. Johnson was alongside him with a handgun. Dolph's brother, who was outside, returned fire. He shot Smith in the shoulder, the arm, and the leg, but it wasn't enough. Young Dolph was killed at 36 years old, on the street he grew up near, in the city he repped until his last breath. The hip-hop world went into shock. Memphis went into mourning. And within hours, the question on every street corner and every social media timeline was the same. Who ordered this? And immediately the streets knew. Here's where the detective work starts, gang. And this is where the story connects every single dot. Police launched one of the most intensive manhunts Memphis had ever seen. Within weeks, Justin Johnson, who rapped under the name Straight Drop, was arrested. Cornelius Smith was also arrested. A third man, Hernandez Govan, was arrested and charged with conspiracy for allegedly organizing the hit. But then, and this is where it gets crazy, during the trials, the truth started coming out in courtroom testimony that nobody could run from. Cornelius Smith took the stand on September 23, 2024, and he confessed. He said he was one of the shooters. He identified himself in the surveillance footage firing the semi-automatic weapon, and then he dropped the detail that shook the entire case. He testified that it was Big Jook, Anthony Mims, Yo Gotti's brother, who had put out the $100,000 bounty on Dolph's head. Let me break down how the money was supposed to work. Smith said the plan was simple. He and Johnson would each get $40,000. Hernandez Govan, who allegedly organized it and provided the guns, would take $10,000 as his cut. Big Jook was allegedly the man funding the whole operation. But here's where it gets even crazier. Smith says he only got $800 before he was arrested. $800 out of a promised $40,000. But he also testified that after his arrest, his attorney was contacted by Big Jook's attorney and received somewhere between $38,000 and $50,000 in cash. Big Jook was paying lawyer fees for the man who killed Dolph. That's how you know who ordered it. And then Smith said something that was absolutely chilling. After the shooting, he and Johnson FaceTimed Big Jook to let him know Dolph was dead. They called the man who ordered the hit to confirm the work was done, like it was a business transaction. Deputy DA Paul Hagerman also revealed in opening statements that Big Jook had allegedly offered Justin Johnson the hit with a bonus, the promise of a record deal with CMG, a CMG deal in exchange for killing Young Dolph. The label that Dolph had turned down in 2014 was now allegedly offering a record deal to whoever could put him in the ground. That detail alone is enough to make your stomach drop. Justin Johnson was convicted of first-degree murder in 2024. He was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole. His brother Jamarcus had already pleaded guilty to being an accessory after the fact, and Hernandez Govan, the alleged organizer, was actually acquitted. The jury wasn't convinced beyond a reasonable doubt. But here's the thing, Big Jook himself never made it to a courtroom, because by the time the trials were happening, Big Jook was already dead. January 13th, 2024, Memphis, 4:15 in the afternoon. Big Jook is outside Perignon Restaurant and Event Center on Winchester Road. He's attending a repast, a gathering after a funeral service for a relative. His own family is burying someone and he's there to pay respects. That's when the shooters pull up in a white Ford Explorer with black wheels and dark tints. They open fire. Big Jook is hit. Another attendee is hit. Memphis police rush to the scene. Despite immediate medical attention, Anthony Big Jook Mims is pronounced dead at the scene at 47 years old. His mother, Gotti's mother, had to run for her life from that scene. Let that sink in. She had just buried a relative hours before and then had to watch her son get gunned down outside the repast. Deputy Chief Paul Wright confirmed to the media that the shooting was targeted. This wasn't random gun violence. Somebody came for Big Jook specifically. Somebody knew where he was and when he would be there. Memphis police released photos of the white Ford Explorer. They offered a $4,000 reward for information. As of September 2024, no arrests had been made in connection with Big Jook's murder. And here's the detail that makes your neck snap. Big Jook's last Instagram post, dated the day before he was killed, read, "They don't want to face you, they want to snake you. Stay alert to stay alive, watch your back at all times." And he knew something was in the air, and he still couldn't avoid it. Now, the streets have been talking about why Big Jook was killed, and the conversation always comes back to the same place. This was retaliation for Young Dolph. Paper Route Empire getting get back. Somebody connected to Dolph, connected to PRE, connected to everything that Big Jook had allegedly put into motion, allegedly came and collected the debt. No cap. Nothing has been charged, nothing has been proven in a court of law regarding who killed Big Jook or why. But the timing is undeniable. Big Jook allegedly orders the hit on Dolph in 2021. Dolph dies. 2 years later, Big Jook gets identified in open court as the man who paid for it, and 3 months before those trials even start, Big Jook gets killed in the exact same city where Dolph was murdered. Memphis don't forget, and Memphis don't forgive. And now, here we are. This is the part that broke the internet, fam, and this is why the title of this video exists. Word started circulating and hitting the streets hard that Gotti had put a bounty on the person or persons believed to be responsible for Big Jook's murder. Real recognize real, and in Memphis, when your brother gets killed, especially in a targeted hit like that, you respond. That's the code. That's what the streets understand. Now, Gotti hasn't confirmed anything publicly. He went on stage at 42 Doug's concert in Detroit less than a week after Big Jook died. He performed FU for the crowd. He didn't address it directly in the media, but the streets were already moving. And then came the reaction that set social media on fire. The individual allegedly connected to Big Jook's murder, the person the streets believe pulled the trigger as get back for Dolph, responded to the word of Gotti's bounty. He went on rec on camera, reacting to the price allegedly put on his head. And what he said was a message, gang. Not just words, a message. The type of message that tells you this is far from over. The type of message that says, I know what I did, I know why I did it, and now you want to make it my problem. Okay, see, from where this individual stands, the logic is simple. Big Jook ordered the death of Young Dolph. Dolph wasn't just a rap, he was a cousin, a friend, a big homie to a lot of people in those Memphis streets. When Big Jook allegedly put that bag out, he opened a door, and when Dolph got killed, that door wasn't closed. It was broken off the hinges. Retaliation in street politics doesn't work on a timer. It works on an opportunity. And when the opportunity came for whoever killed Big Jook, they took it. Just like Cornelius Smith took the opportunity when he saw Dolph standing by that cookie shop window. This is the cycle, fam. This is how it works. And now Gotti allegedly putting a bag on the person who did Jook? That's just the next rotation of the wheel. The question is, where does it stop? Let me zoom out for a second, because this whole story from 2014 to right now is one of the most complete case studies in how hip-hop beef can grow into something that destroys lives on both sides. It started with a record deal rejection, a business decision. Dolph looked at CMG and said, I'd rather bet on myself. And that choice That single choice allegedly set off a decade-long chain of events that has now left multiple people dead and multiple families devastated. Young Dolph is dead at 36. Big Jook is dead at 47. Justin Johnson is going to spend the rest of his life in prison. Cornelius Smith, the confessed shooter, is still awaiting his own trial on murder charges. Jamarcus Johnson pleaded guilty to being an accessory. Gotti's mother had to flee from her son's murder scene. Dolph's children grew up without their father. His family has to watch these trials every single year and hear the details of how he died over and over again. And for what? For a record deal that Dolph never wanted to sign. For a title, King of Memphis. That ain't even matter. For ego and power in a city that has more than enough talent to go around. Here's what the court documents also revealed that people been sleeping on. Big Jook allegedly didn't just have a hit on Dolph, he had a whole hit list for Paper Route Empire. Key Glock allegedly had a $50,000 bounty on his head. Paper Route Woo, $50,000. Big Moochie Grape, $5,000. Snoop Bands, $20,000. These are real artists, real people, living their lives with alleged contracts out on them from a Memphis power broker who felt disrespected by song lyrics and a label they couldn't control. That's the part that makes this situation so much bigger than just beef between two rappers. This became an institutional war between two Memphis labels, and real blood got shed over it. Now, Yo Gotti has built a $100 million empire. He's studying business at UCLA's Anderson School of Management. He's running one of the most successful rap labels in the game with artists like Glorilla, Moneybagg Yo, 42 Dugg, ESTG. He has everything, and his brother got killed outside a repast in Memphis anyway, because the streets don't care about your empire. The streets remember what happened. Here's where we at right now, gang, and I want to be straight with y'all about what's still up in the air. Big Jook's murder, unsolved. No arrests, no charges. Memphis police are still looking for answers. The white Ford Explorer they were searching for, nothing public has come from that lead. The person allegedly connected to Big Jook's killing who is reportedly reacting to Gotti's bounty, no charges have been filed in relation to Jook's murder. This is still an open investigation. Cornelius Smith, still awaiting trial on murder charges of his own, even after testifying against Johnson and Govan. Hernandez Govan, acquitted, free man. The jury didn't buy the prosecution's case. His defense attorney successfully argued that Smith was an unreliable witness who would say anything for a lighter sentence. And Yo Gotti, publicly silent on all of it, has not commented on his brother being named as the man behind Dolph's murder, has not addressed the bounty allegations, has continued building his business empire while the streets around him burn. But here's what I need you to understand. The silence doesn't mean nothing is happening. In Memphis, silence is often the loudest sound. When Gotti went on that stage in Detroit less than a week after his brother's death and performed F You, that was a message. That was a man showing the world he wasn't broken, wasn't stopping, wasn't bowing down. And the alleged bounty on whoever killed Jook, if that's real, and the streets are treating it like it's real, then we are in another chapter of this war. And this chapter doesn't have an ending yet. Y'all need to sit with this whole story, fam, because it's bigger than Big Jook, it's bigger than Dolph, it's bigger than Yo Gotti. It's a story about what happens when the streets and the music industry collide and neither side is willing to step back. Young Dolph told us who he was from the jump. Independent, unbothered, king of Memphis. He never signed to nobody. He built PRE with his own hands and he got killed for it, allegedly by the very people who wanted to control him. And that's the part that should be making everybody uncomfortable right now, because Dolph didn't do nothing to deserve what happened to him outside that cookie shop. He was giving out turkeys, gang, he was feeding his people for Thanksgiving, and two men walked up and took his life because somebody with money and power allegedly decided his independence was a threat. That's not street politics, that's a hit list. And the fact that it took a full courtroom confession in 2024 to get the world to see the full picture, that tells you everything about how these things get buried, how the money moves, how lawyers get paid, how the truth hides behind closed doors until somebody gets caught and has nothing left to lose but a conscience. Big Jook allegedly set that hit in motion, and then he died the same way he allegedly chose for Dolph to go out, targeted in his own city on a regular day. And his last Instagram post told you he felt it coming. They don't want to face you, they want to snake you. He posted that the day before he got killed. The man who allegedly moved in the shadows his whole life finally ran out of shadows to hide in. And now somebody is allegedly sitting with a bounty on their head because they allegedly allegedly came for Big Jook the same way Big Jook allegedly came for Dolph. Think about what that means for a second. This man, whoever he is, allegedly risked his own life to settle a debt for a rapper he probably grew up listening to, or a homie he was connected to, or a principle he believed in, and now he's allegedly got Yo Gotti's bread on his head in Memphis, where the streets already showed you they will pull up at a repast in broad daylight. That man is living on borrowed time if any of these allegations are true, and he's still out here reacting publicly, still talking, still responding to the bounty like he ain't about to duck. That's either the boldest man in Memphis right now, or the most reckless. Maybe both. This is the cycle of the streets. No cap. And the question nobody in power is asking is, when does somebody break the cycle? Because right now, it looks like nobody's trying to. Everybody's just waiting for their turn to spin the wheel, and every spin costs somebody's life. Every spin costs a mother her son, a child their father, a city another funeral. Memphis is a city of legends. Dolph was one, Gotti is one. But right now, Memphis is also a city bleeding out in real time. And the blogs and the vlogs and the comment sections are moving on to the next story before the last body is even cold. We owe these situations more than that. We owe the real ones more than that. Long live Young Dolph. Long live every real one lost in these Memphis streets. And to the culture, watch how this story ends. Because we ain't near the last chapter yet. Drop a comment. You think Yo Gotti sent that hit on Big Jook's killer? Or is this all just street rumors spiraling? Tell me what y'all think. And if you new here, subscribe because we breaking down every layer of this story as it develops. Real recognize real. Stay safe out here. Peace.